Hello everyone and welcome back to the final chicane with me, Cristin Boylan. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you first of all, the race has ended like a minute ago. But I want to get this episode out on Monday, which means that I literally have to record it right now and edit it because it takes me quite a while to edit it to get it out to you at 6 a.m. So I might miss out on some of the post-race drama. I know particularly with George Russell, we're seeing if he will get a penalty or not, which would remove him from the podium. So we'll find that stuff out together hopefully during the episode, but we'll start now because we have a bit to talk about before the actual racing activity. Okay, let's go to the final chicane brain game now. Week number 1, I think, because I told you we weren't going to do riddles every week. I don't think we did a riddle last week actually. But week number 1, I think we did a connections style game. So like you have to find the connection between 3 or 4 words, whatever it is. So basically that's what we're doing this week. I'm going to give you, how many names am I going to give you? I'm going to give you 3 names and you have to find the connection that I'm thinking of between these 3 people. There might be more than one, but you just have to find the connection that I'm thinking of. It will be like, you know, it's something related to Formula 1. Okay, so the 3 names are Pastor Maldonado, Heikki Kovalainen, and Robert Kubica. Robert, who we've seen most recently out of all of those in Formula 1. So what's the connection between that? I'll tell you the answer at the end of today's episode, so you're gonna have to wait. We'll go to our gossip grid moment. I guess not too much on the gossip grid today. I guess the main point of sort of drama starting from Formula 1 since last week was that Carlos Sainz ended up getting a fine for being late to the national anthem. I mean, the weekend has moved on now. This is in the past, but he got a 10k penalty, a 10,000 euro, I'm guessing, penalty for being, I think, 20 seconds late, which is still late. Still 10k for being less than a minute late is sort of scary. Like imagine, you know, I mean, I know all Formula 1 drivers make a good salary, but some not as good as the others, and those fines could add up. The thing is, he was late, he said, because he was, like, ill, so he was in the bathroom, I think, or something like that. So I feel like they should take stuff like that into account. 10k, I think actually the 10k, was it suspended? Is it a suspended fine, or maybe some of it is suspended, or maybe it was bigger, and now it's 10k that he has to pay? I don't know. But obviously suspending meaning if he does it again, he has to pay. But I can't remember if he actually has to pay that 10k. And then he swore in the press conference this week and he was like, oh, is that going to be another fine? Which probably will be Sainz. Another of my favourite media moments was Kimi Antonelli talking about like school and how he balances school and everything. I just think, like, I struggle keeping up to date with Formula 1 and my college work, never mind him being a Formula 1 driver in like secondary school. There's so much work to do. There's so much homework in secondary school. I don't know how he's doing it. He was asked some funny questions about it. He was asked if he ever gets Toto to help with his homework or come to Toto with like school problems or whatever, and he said no. He doesn't. He's never talked to Toto about school. And he was like, oh, maybe if I'm with George on a flight, he can help me with my like maths homework or something. He hates maths. He's just like me. I can't do maths. So yeah, Kimi goes to a public school. He doesn't physically go to the school anymore, but he's still part of it because, you know, he wants to finish his schooling education and his mom wants to as well. So imagine that though. Being like, yeah, I have a Formula 1 driver in my class. He doesn't come in, but he's still in my class. And then when there was a picture of Kimi in school, that was quite funny. Anyway, I don't know. I just like, when I started watching Formula 1, there was no Formula 1 drivers younger than me. And now there is. So that, I mean, when everyone started watching Formula 1, not everyone, when most people started watching Formula 1, but it's just weird because that wasn't that long ago for me. And now they're making me feel old. And then George and Charles came to the paddock wearing the same outfit. That's how slow of a gossip day it was, I guess, because that's something. I thought that was funny. The outfit wasn't a bad outfit though. It's better than the team kits. I love when they wear anything else, literally anything else, which Max has been doing more as well. He's moved away from the Red Bull and jeans, and now he sometimes branches out to like a white t-shirt and jeans. Some upgrades this weekend, particularly an upgrade for Ferrari, which was supposed to improve their downforce. I think we saw a bit of that, but yeah, a successful upgrade, I would say, after this weekend. But yeah, they definitely have a bit longer to go. In case you don't know, there's something very exciting to happen today for me in Ireland, because for the first time ever in FIA Formula 2, Alex Dunne won the feature race. So he's Irish and he won, and the Irish national anthem was played on the podium, and that was just sort of an amazing moment for us here in Ireland and Alex Dunne fans. And the race F2, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I only started properly watching F2 4 months ago, whenever the start of the year was, just because I was like, girl, I need to start watching this. Alex Dunne is in it now. So, I didn't really watch it before that, but I should have, because F2 is really fun. It's exciting. There's always something going on there, and they're really good drivers, and they have really good moves. I thought that it was going to be messy, sort of, but it was really good. I was very worried they weren't going to play the national anthem of Ireland, because it doesn't get played too often in Formula 1. I don't know when the last time it was played. It was probably with Jordan or something like that. But yeah, that was a moment, and I'm so happy for him. And listen here, he's going to make it to Formula 1, yeah? For his first win in Formula 1, I'm going to be, under the podium where the team stand. That's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be clapping, and I'll be listening to the Irish national anthem in person. Don't know what team he'll be driving for, but he'll be in Formula 1. Okay, mark my words. I'll make sure of it. If I have to buy a team, well, I can't afford that, but I'll figure a way. He's gonna make it to Formula 1. He's quite an aggressive driver, Alex Dunne. That's what makes him fun to watch. You never know if he's gonna take someone out or make the best overtake of the race. He was a bit of a terror on track during the sprint, and he didn't end up DNFing actually. I think he just fell back to 19th after all of those things, but he had a good start to the sprint, but then he also got 2 penalties throughout it for stuff that were his fault. So yeah, if you're looking for a reason to start watching F2, there's your reason, and it's on this weekend as well. So guys, go support F1. If F1, you probably already do if you're watching this. Go support F2 and Alex Dunne. Especially if you're Irish. If you're Irish and you don't support Alex Dunne, what are you doing? Honestly, it has been a long weekend and I'm wrecked, so I feel like the blabbering might be extreme. Let me actually look at the TV and see what's going on in F1. I think the podium is just over. I think the podium is actually just starting. That is literally how fast I started this episode once the race stopped. Next week, though, you won't be so lucky. Next week I'll be at the Worlds, Irish Dancing Worlds, because my cousin is dancing in it. On the Sunday, I'll be in Dublin all day. So the episode, I won't get to record the episode on Sunday, basically. And then it's Easter Monday. But I'm planning on waking up early on the Monday to record the episode and watch the race. But I think I'll get to watch the race on Sunday. I think I'll have that time free to myself. So I'll try post it on Monday, but yeah, it won't be posted at 6 a.m. anyway on Monday. So that's why I'm trying to get this one out early to you, but it's not a triple header, so there's no race the week after next, so you have time to catch up. That's why you don't need it straight away, 6 a.m. on a Monday. Yeah, the podium is on and George Russell is standing on it as of now, so I'm guessing he hasn't got a penalty just yet. If he does or not, I don't know. FP1 was exciting, and I love when this happens because there was 6 rookies, I believe, on the grid. I just love seeing a driver that I don't recognise and how they do, and they all did really well, I think, in this session. Waiting for Alex Dunne to be one of those 6, and I hope to be at that race when he is. We had Beganovic, Vesti, Owasa, Drogovic, Hirakawa, Browning, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Browning. No more than that. Luke Browning F2 driver. He came second actually to Alex Dunne in that race. So he is one to look out for. He had quite a good session as well. I'd say he was probably one of the, I would put him on top of the rookies just for that session. Well, Rio Hirakawa actually wore a helmet like for that session that was designed by his daughter. Not completely. Like his daughter drew some stuff and he put on his helmet like that, obviously. But that was really cute. He's a lot older than I thought. I think he's in his 30s. So he's like a whole family and stuff. But yeah, he's been a part of Formula One for a bit and it'd be nice to see him get a go in it. He seems to be strong enough. Luke and Albon actually did, it feels weird like saying Luke casually because that's just not a name that we hear in Formula One. But Browning, I guess, and Albon did have a little bit of a scary moment in FP1. I just assumed it was Luke's fault because I don't think I was in the room when it happened. So when I heard them talking about it, I was like, oh, that is definitely Luke's fault because he's a rookie, obviously. But it turned out to be Albon's fault, actually, and he got fined for it. And Drogovic had a funny reaction to it as well. Then Albon and Tsunoda also had a bit of a pit lane moment. Honestly, a bit going on in FP1, a bit messy. But other than that, the rookies did keep it clean. I think Browning finished highest with 13th. I know Antonelli had an issue anyway, so his weekend didn't start off too successfully, didn't end as successfully as he would have hoped either. And Norris topped with Gasly P2. I was like, you know, steady from Gasly, but it's free practice. Let's not get our hopes up. Wrong. Let's get our hopes up because Gasly kept that momentum throughout the weekend. FP2 did see Alonso have a steering issue and then his steering wheel just came off because apparently they can do that, which I didn't know. And then FP3, its main issue, Charles's mirror just came off and it flew so far and wide. It flew way over into like the grandstands, wherever it was. So would have loved to be there to catch that mirror. I would be looking at myself in that mirror every single day if I had Charles Leclerc's Ferrari wing mirror. And Nico just had a little bit of a moment. He just went into anti-stall. Wait, I think we have F1 Academy next week as well. Oof, such a busy week next week. Easter, the Worlds, F2, F1 Academy, F1. Dissertation. How am I meant to keep up? Okay, on to quali. Yuki has been struggling all week, struggled again in the race, but not too bad. He was sort of par and par with Max Verstappen, which I was quite impressed with on the race. But his struggles definitely did start to show in quali right at the start, along with Max. Neither of them had actually put in a time. So I was like, this could turn out to be a disaster, but they kept it together at least a little for Q1. Jack Doohan was looking strong. Always glad to see Jack Doohan looking strong because even before the season started, he was getting quite a lot of hate and being labelled as the worst rookie before you even got a chance to prove himself because everyone wants Franco. Love Franco, would love him to be in the grid, but let's give Jack a chance. So I do feel like I have to defend Jack a little all the time. He did really well in Q1. I was very impressed with him. And that saw Behrman and quali Q1 saw Behrman leaving in P20, Stroll 19th, Bortoleto, Lawson and Albon. Interestingly though, a bit of drama here because Albon was out in P16. He didn't get to advance into Q2, but the stewards found out and the FIA found out too late that Hulk's lap time was deleted. His lap time didn't count, that got him into Q2. So he should have been out. He got his lap time deleted. He went back, Albon starts a place ahead, but Albon could have went and fought for, P11. So that is something that they need to make sure doesn't happen often or again, because imagine it was, a title contender and it was a bit higher and getting into Q3. Imagine it was Lando getting into Q3 versus Max. There would be a lot more talk about it. So they probably should have, Lawson, obviously not a strong Q1. I always get confused. I always have to stop and think if it's Q1 or Q3, first, but it's Q1, Q2, Q3. Sorry. I've said that before. I don't know why. I'm just maths dyslexic a little or something like that. I don't know. But like, yeah, Liam did have a problem with DRS. It closed, so we didn't have a DRS advantage. So that was a bit of the reasoning why he had such a poor quali. But unfortunately, his weekend didn't go any better from that. Q2, Ocon had his crash at about 11 minutes to go. Always head up, ears open when his radio comes on, because he is the female engineer, which just brings light to my life and joy to the sport. He was okay. It looked like quite a hefty crash right into the barriers. Exit of turn 3, very high speed crash. But yeah, he was fine. He sounded absolutely devastated on his radio, and I think Haas themselves were a bit confused on what happened, but they figured it out. And yeah, most importantly, Este was okay. But of course, this crash caused Hulk and Tsunoda's laps to be ruined, because I think they were the two that were on fast laps. There obviously wasn't the last, lap of the race, so it was okay. Or of the quality session, so it was not as bad as it could have been. And then the drama happened for Merck, where they were noted for leaving the garage too early. And Gasly again showed that he wasn't playing in free practice 1, because he set the fastest sector 2 in the Alpine. What is the Alpine doing setting the fastest sector 2? I want to see more of that from Gasly. So while Ocon was out, obviously because he crashed and he couldn't go again, Gasly steamrolled through to Q3 with Alonso out P14, Hulk where he finished, Hadjar and Doohan. That is very good qualifying for Doohan. Obviously the Alpine was fast, but I think normally that is where the Alpine is expected to be. Like, just one place off of Q3 was impressive. Obviously, Gasly doing so well, sort of diminishes that a little. But I'm proud of Doohan, and I think he did a good job. Not as successful of a qualifying for Hadjar as he would have wanted. Not the best track, I guess, this weekend for Visa Cash App or B, with Lawson struggling as well. And again, both Red Bulls literally just on the cuff where they stayed, actually. For Q3, Piastri was looking fastest in Q3 right through it. Russell was on a flyer. He got the fastest sector 1, I think fastest sector 2 then as well. He got a 1:30.009, and Charles did quite a good lap after that too. Gasly, again, unreal. But Piastri then takes the fastest second sector and the fastest lap, because he gets pole. 1:29.841, so brought it into the 1:29s. Piastri is just he just moves in silence. That's how I would describe George as well. I think George and Piastri just do like to move in silence, because I feel like sometimes people forget about them. They're just a little underrated compared to some of the others that they're in the same league as I would say. But yeah, they're moving in silence. So Q3, Antonelli as well, doing very well in that. Got Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli, Gasly, Norris. Not a spectacular weekend for Norris. He did show some potential in the race, but not where he'd want to be in qualifying. And he was devastated. If you watch his post-quali interview, he actually seemed so disappointed in himself, and he was very, very down. He still had qualified for Verstappen though, because then we had Verstappen, Sainz, Hamilton and Tsunoda finishing it the top 10. Then it was after this that we realised Hulk got his Q3 time deleted. And for what I mentioned earlier, the Mercedes being out of the garage at the wrong time, which wasn't the driver's fault, a team error themselves, unfortunately got them each a 1-place grid penalty. So George went back 1, Kimi went back 1, which promoted Charles to front row and Pierre Gasly to row number 2 again in the Alpine. What is the Alpine doing in row number 2? I don't know. Did anything else happen between quali and the race? I don't know. My mind right now is just Alex Dunne, winner of F2. That's where my mind is. Okay, I got a Formula 1 notification. Let's see if it's important. No, it's not. Let's go. So, let's go to the Grand Prix now. Grand Prix was good. A lot better than last week, but that wouldn't have been hard because last week was something, huh? the top 8 bar Charles Leclerc started on the softs. I think Charles then was on the mediums, and anyone who wasn't on softs was on mediums. I don't think anyone started on the hards, actually, which honestly, with the safety car, the strategies didn't really end up mattering that much. It wasn't a big strategy call race, I think. I think just depending on your pace and your racecraft, you could do well even if you weren't on, the winning strategy. So obviously strategy is always important, but sometimes strategy just dictates the entire race. George had a great start, but he did lock up. So that, he wasn't really going to challenge Piastri. Lando, really, really great start as well. Straight to P3. Where did he start again? P6, I think. So he had a really great start, but turns out that he was just a bit over his grid box. So he got investigated for that and then did get a 5-second penalty for that. So a bit disappointing. His really good start, I guess, came to nothing because of that penalty. Obviously 5 seconds is quite a lot in Formula 1, and I thought it might be a 10-second one, because I feel like 10 seconds they give out sometimes for false starts, no? So I was a bit surprised when it was 5, but yeah. Hadjar had not a good start. Hadjar had a bad start, in fact. I was like, oh, Hadjar and Lawson are right beside each other, like, let's go, Liam must have had a good start. No, it was just that Hadjar had a really bad one, unfortunately. Hulk also had a bad start, but Behrman, best start of them all, plus 5 places, which really dictated how the rest of his race was going to go, because he had a great race from starting dead last on the grid. So I think I would give best start there to Ollie Behrman. Honestly, I should have had more faith in the Alpine, because I was just expecting Pierre, obviously in a slower car, to get eaten up a bit, but he did not. And that was down to, the car is good, but his defense skills, we had a very clean race. He didn't make mistakes. So Pierre did a very good job holding on to that position. Antonelli actually had a really good overtake very early on Sainz as well. It was quite like a risky overtake for a rookie. Sometimes rookies are the ones that just sort of do this though, because they have less fear. But yeah, an overtake type that doesn't go too well sometimes, but he pulled it off incredibly, and Sainz, they both gave each other enough space. So that was probably my favorite overtake of the race. And then Max and Carlos had a bit of a, what's the word, tussle. Less clean than that with Antonelli. It was definitely more messy, but still, and it did get investigated right, but nothing came of it. I think that's the truth. See, sometimes what's bad about doing like a race review straight after the race is that the facts of the race hasn't like solidified in your mind yet, because everything is still moving around. Because my brother was like, oh, at least if you're doing it now, everything will still be fresh in your mind. But in fact, there's too much fresh in my mind that some of it is leaving to make space for what I'm still thinking about. Like, I'm still eyeing my phone to see if there's any post-race drama. I don't know if you can hear the little tapping around me, but that's my dog walking around because it's his dinner time, and it's like an hour past his dinner time actually, which is my bad, and he's hungry. Hadjar pitted very early. For the first time, he pitted on lap 7. Okay, my dog Douglas has now taken it to scraping at my arm to get me to feed him. Just let Mama finish the race review, okay, honey? Let me finish the race review. He's been very good all day, to be honest. He saw a pheasant outside a few minutes ago and interrupted the race hugely with his barking. But other than that, you've been a good boy, Doug. So yeah, Hadjar did pit lap 7, which I thought was a little early. But then a lot of the pitting started lap 11. Obviously, it's a 2 pit stop race, 3 for Antonelli. Which that second one was just bad timing for him in the end. And could have been a 3 stop race for some, but they just made the tyres work, especially George. Max had a slow stop. 2 slow stops. First slow stop was because the light stayed red. So there's a light above the pit that goes green. And I think it was just a technical issue. It just stayed red. So he went on the red. We all know you're not allowed to go on the red light. Wait, apparently in America I saw on TikTok that you're allowed to go on a red light. if you're turning left or something like that and it's clear. Is that true? Is it? There's probably something to that rule that I'm missing. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the driving rules in America. Behrman was noted for an unsafe release into Lawson, but nothing came of that, and I didn't think anything sort of did come of that because it didn't look like Lawson had to slam on the brakes or anything like that. It was probably just the slightest you could get it without getting a penalty for that. So that was okay. Obviously a penalty would be disappointing for Behrman because he was doing quite well in the race at this point. Charles was having more beef with his Ferrari engineer. He wanted code Delta. They didn't want code Delta. I think the company said that code Delta potentially stood for one stop. I don't think you could have got that one stop though anyway. They wanted to put him on mediums and they did in the end. Then Max had another slow stop. His right wheel wouldn't come off. So that added to his misery because you could tell he was getting quite frustrated on the radio throughout this race. And by this point, Piastri had already checked out. And as I was actually writing Piastri checked out down in my notes, the safety car happened. I was so confused. I swear they just didn't say why there was a safety car for so long. And I don't think they even knew for quite a while why the safety car was. They're like, oh, to remove debris. Like, what debris? I didn't see no debris anywhere. So why was there a safety car? Safety car was on lap 32 anyway. And Oscar did get lucky. He was coming up right to the pits in enough time that he could just peel into the pits to change his tyres. Would have been a different story if he had just passed it. He might not have been so lucky coming out. And we could have had a whole different race outcome. So that was lucky for Oscar, but he deserved that luck because he was 7 seconds or something. He had checked out from the rest of them. He was just moving in silence. I like that phrase. The Mercedes went on to sauce, which I was sure was the wrong decision. I was wrong though, because they made them last. Who is it usually? Is it Bottas? It's Perez usually that's the tire whisperer, is he? But George was the tire whisperer today, and he usually is good with the stars, isn't he, George? Obviously the safety car came, which caused Antonelli to have his third pit stop, which, isn't ideal. Then there was just a bit of kerfuffle. It was just messy. I think Yuki goes into Carlos, Lawson goes into Stroll, Lawson goes into Bortoleto, something like that. Lawson got a penalty anyway for that one. The safety car was apparently for carbon fibre. I don't know actually whose car that was. Then when the Carlos stuff happened, they were saying, oh, it was from Carlos's car because we obviously saw that massive damage to Carlos's side pod. But I don't know. I don't know what the safety car was for, and maybe they said it post-race, but I muted it and started on this podcast straight away. So now I will never know. George called the soft tyre an audacious choice, which is now going into my vocabulary forever. Yuki was a little bit messy during this race. He was noted for causing that collision. I think he was sort of desperate to prove himself a little, which didn't... he had a good race. Good race. He had a fine race. The Red Bull... He had a good race, actually. Compared to where the Red Bull is, that race, Yuki had a good race. So he was just a little bit more messy than he could have been. But Max was a little messy too. So they were probably just a little frustrated this weekend with their car. Piastri did have a good restart. It was just a smooth restart. It was clean. Hamilton got Lando and then Lando got Hamilton back, so there was a bit of excitement there. Oh, apologies, I said that it was Bortoleto. I think it was Hulk that Lawson caused the collision with, so that was a 5-second penalty for Lawson, nothing to do with Bortoleto. And then Lawson was also investigated for a safety car infringement. I don't have anything else wrote about that, so I assume nothing came of that. Unless he got another penalty post-race, I don't know. Sainz didn't have a good race. Sainz had quite a rough race. He got a 10-second penalty for forcing another driver off, that driver being Kimi, and then he also had that side pod, the damage, undrivable. So he did DNF, which was, probably the nicer choice for everyone than Carlos trying to drive. He probably wouldn't be allowed to finish the race with that damage anyway. Lando actually had a really good overtake on Charles. Lando definitely wasn't at the top of his game this weekend or this race. It took a while for him to get that overtake on Charles, I think, again, sometimes frustration isn't good in Formula One because it gets you to be a bit more messy, which I think is what was happening to Max and Yuki and potentially Lando. He was very frustrated with himself over qualifying. And yeah, he just didn't have the best, I'll say, racecraft during that race, because we know how good Lando's racecraft usually is and can be. But he just wasn't his best form this weekend, we'll say. There was a bit of DRS issues going on, actually. I'm guessing it was all stemming back to the issues that George was having, because Lando was told to make sure not to press DRS until he's sure he's in DRS of George. Now, that could be an issue because of George's transponder, like obviously Lando going into George's DRS, that might have some effect on Lando. I think Charles was also having some DRS issues, but was that also to do with George? I don't know. Was George just screwing up everyone else's DRS? I'm not sure. Something I probably would have figured out post-race if I had waited a bit to make this podcast episode, but I didn't, and I apologise for that. If this feels rushed or not, it is a little rushed, and I do apologise for that. Look, it's a triple header. My brain is fried, to be honest, but I'm happy to discuss things in more detail in the comments if you want. Again, my notes here just complimenting George on making his tyres last for that entire race. It was very impressive. A very close final battle between Lando and George as well. And Gasly, again, just moving in silence, my favourite word for this episode throughout this race. But Max did get him on the last lap, still finishing P7 in an Alpine, one of the worst cars on the grid. Not a bad car, but just not to the level of the other cars. He shouldn't be P7, and he was P7. So let that continue, and let that continue for Jack Doohan as well. And then, who I probably would have gave driver of the day to, I mean, Oscar, but also Behrman, Gasly even. Hamilton got driver of the day. Now, I wasn't sure about that. Hamilton, he had a decent race, but driver of the day, the driver of the days have been a little odd, huh? I think they've been a little odd so far this season. Yeah, I think Kimi got a really random driver of the day as well, which, yeah, they're just a bit random this year. Maybe I should do like an Irish dancing episode next week and just tell you everything that happened in the world. They're not usually in Ireland, so we have to go, and it's expensive. Well, it's not compared to Formula 1 race, like it's €40, but €40 is a lot for me, a college student who makes no money. Honestly though, I've nearly made my first €10 off the podcast, so just from YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you are contributing to that, and I respect that a lot. Like, guys, you are basically funding like €10 to me just from watching it. That's so fun. I love that I can do that. We'll go back to the final chicane brain game. So if you remember, we're doing a connections style game where you have to find the connection between these three people. I'm going to be honest, I've always struggled to pronounce his name. Number 2. Heikki Kovalainen. I'm not good at pronouncing names, but that one, like, I looked up how to pronounce it and I already forget. But it's hard when, like, because I wasn't watching when he was racing, so I didn't hear his name too often. So the 3 names were Pastor Maldonado, who I do remember, Heikki Kovalainen, and Robert Kubica. And do you know what the connection is? Say it out loud on the count of 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Maybe you got it right. I have no idea. But the connection is that they're all one-time winners. So they've all won one time. So they're not the only one-time winners, but that's just a connection that they have. I'm sure there's other connections as well. They're all men, for one. They don't have the easiest names to pronounce. For me, someone who struggles to pronounce names, that's another connection that they have. So I'm sure there's loads of connections, but that's one of them. Okay, guys. I hope that you appreciate the shorter episode, or the fast-paced episode. It might not have been shorter because your brain is probably also fired. Oh my God. Fried. I can't even speak. My brain is gone. The college work is sort of just destroying me right now. It's just a lot. It's a lot going on. And I know you probably prefer when I sort of take my time and talk about things a bit more. So sorry if that's the type that you do prefer. But if you do like this episode, like if you do like the episodes where I go really fast paced and talk fast and scramble over my words the entire time, this one is definitely for you. But yeah, Bahrain is fun. We've Jeddah next week. We've Saudi Arabia. And you know what I've started doing on my TikTok is like I buy food related to the country that the Grand Prix is in, and then we test it out before the Grand Prix, the week of the Grand Prix. So it was Bahrain this week, so I have that up on my TikTok. So I'm excited to do that for Saudi Arabia next week for Jeddah. So yeah, is that it? I think that's it. I've had such a long day, guys. But if you've waited this long into the episode, thank you for staying around. Now I need to go feed my dogs. So bye. See you next week.